And we're starting at a place that's all too familiar to the NFL, and that is the David Culley situation. Or it's not even a situation anymore. David Culley, the first year coach for the Houston Texans, got fired. Now, there's a lot wrong with this situation. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but back when he first got hired, I said that I felt bad for him. Now, usually you don't feel bad for African American coaches, especially African American coaches in the NFL, because they're so scarce. But I feel bad for David Culley because I said he is put in a lose-lose situation. You put him in a situation, one, you knew the Houston Texans did not want to hire David Culley. Did I say he was deserving of a head coaching job? Yes, David Culley for sure. I mean, he was a longtime assistant. David Culley definitely deserved to be a head coach somewhere. But you already could tell from the jump that they didn't want, and when I say they, I mean the Houston Texans didn't want to hire David Culley. They may have had another person in mind. Their GM is, has their newest GM has New England ties, so you would probably think that they'd want to go through the New England side, but they didn't want to hire David Culley. They hired him because the turmoil that was going on, or that's still going on, with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson said that he wanted input in the head coaching position. He gave a list of names. They didn't even consider any of them. And Deshaun Watson at that point was like, yo, I'm out. I don't want to be here. I'm not coming back. And that's just on the field situation. That has nothing to do with the off-field situation that Deshaun Watson sees himself in. So they hired David Culley pretty much as a last ditch, like, hey, yo, Deshaun, please come back. We have a black coach, which is crazy. It's crazy because you're at this point not hiring a person or you're not hiring a person because you think that they're capable of doing the job. You're hiring a person just to appease the quarterback. And while the quarterback should have some input on who your head coach is, but you don't just hire a black coach because your black quarterback wants him. Like, that's, oh no, not even that. Your black quarterback wants him, and you feel the only way that you hire this black head coach is to keep the black quarterback. That's not right. That's not right for the black quarterback. That's not right for the black coach. So I felt bad for David Culley in that sense. And you've already, like, all you kept hearing throughout the season was he's a placeholder. He's a placeholder. He's a placeholder. He's a placeholder until somebody else comes, because you clearly see that it didn't work with Deshaun Watson, so he's a placeholder. He was put in such a bad situation and got dealt such a bad hand. And that's what you see a lot of when you see black coaches. I mean, after 1 year, think about the plate that David Culley was handed, or it was served. You don't have a franchise quarterback. Your franchise quarterback, who is Deshaun Watson, has told the media, has told the team countless times, I am not coming back. So you don't have a franchise quarterback. Your second string quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, he got hurt majority of the year. He did come back in spurts, but he got hurt majority of the year. You don't have, who is your cornerstone player? Brandon Cooks, who had a decent season, but outside of that, who was your cornerstone player? Don't let me forget that they traded Mark Ingram at the early end of the season. So that's your starting running back. You don't have DeAndre Hopkins. You don't have J.J. Watt left the season before. And you don't have Mark Andrews. And you don't have Deshaun Watson. You don't have Tyrod Taylor. So you have a rookie quarterback, arguably the worst offensive line in the NFL, arguably the worst defense in the NFL. You have management pretty much saying you're only here because Deshaun Watson wanted you, and Deshaun Watson's not even here, so count your days, my G. And it's unfortunate. And the reason why I really started this show is because the reason why I started this as, this was the start of my show is because we see this way too often. I said this when he got the job. I said, this looks so familiar. And I said it looks so familiar, not in the sense of, what is it? No, this happens a lot, most of the time, to African American coaches in the NFL. There's a reason. There's a reason why there is only one African American head coach in the NFL right now, and that is Mike Tomlin for the Steelers. See, a lot of people are going to look, when a lot of people, especially people that are not of color, look and say, well, you have Mike Tomlin. He's black, and look at him. He's been successful for 15 plus years. You have Robert Saleh, who is not black, by the way, because I heard that a lot once the whole David Culley firing happened. You have Robert Saleh, who's not black. What people don't understand, and what a lot of people don't understand, is that the Mike Tomlins of the NFL is rare. It's so uncommon that an African American coach gets, when they first get a job in the NFL as a head coach, you're getting a cornerstone franchise. You're getting a cornerstone quarterback. You have Big Ben. You're getting an elite defense. You're getting an elite offensive line. You're getting a very good ownership team. It is very rare that an African-American coach is put in that situation. In fact, it's so rare. I can remember only happening once, and that was Mike Tomlin, who's still there. And don't get it confused. You know how many times people be trying to get Mike Tomlin out the door? How many years? All you hear is, well, is it time to let go of Mike Tomlin? Is it time to move away from Mike Tomlin? Has Mike Tomlin lost the locker room? Nobody listen to Mike Tomlin. Look at some of the greatest, or look at some of the best African. Look at Tony Dungy. He had to go to the Bucks, I believe. Todd Bowles, David Culley, Lovie Smith. All of these head coaches had to go to organizations that didn't have it all there, or they're pretty much set up to fail. Hell, Tony Dungy didn't get to the Tony Dungy status until he got to Indianapolis. And you just heard what his first stop was, the Bucks. The Bucks that were horrible. Todd Bowles had the Bucks that were horrible. You have the Jets. Or did Tony Dungy? No, I'm sorry. Todd Bowles and Tony Dungy had the Jets. Or no, Tony Dungy had the Bucks, I believe. Todd Bowles had the Jets. I apologize. But even still, it's the Jets. And what's very unfortunate is look at Todd Bowles now and how intricate he is in the Bucks game plan and how good he is as a coordinator. But of course, they'll say that African Americans are really best at coordinating, or look at all the best African offensive coordinators. You're telling me he couldn't do that as a head coach if he had the organization around him? You're telling, and it's no disrespect to all these coaches, but you're telling me that an African American coach couldn't do what John Harbaugh did with Lamar Jackson in that offense? Ozzie Newsome in that organization? You're telling me that a black coach couldn't do what Matt LaFleur is doing with Aaron Rodgers, by the way? Because all I'm hearing is Matt LaFleur is such a great coach. Matt LaFleur is such a great coach. He has Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. Yo, you remember people kill and still to this day are killing Mike McCarthy for only making it to one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Nobody talks about how many of those years he made to the playoffs because you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I'm not saying Matt LaFleur is a bad coach, but what I'm saying is it helps a lot when you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers starting for your team. That's kind of like the whole Steve Nash thing with the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, it's kind of hard to fail when you have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden on the same team. You're gonna win some games. No, we don't know if Steve Nash is a good coach. But what I do know is this. Going back to my point, David Culley, with no Deshaun Watson, with no Tyrod Taylor majority of the season, with no DeAndre Hopkins, with no J.J. Watt, with a horrible offensive line, with a horrible defensive line, with a management team that's pretty much vocal that they didn't want him, he still went out and won 4 games. Now, people, that's 4 games. Wait a second. They're garbage. 4 games with all that. And having a third-string third-string rookie quarterback in David Mills. To me, he did a fine job in what he had to work with. And for people that's saying he went 4-13, he should have been fired. Okay, cool. Okay, he should have been fired because he went 4-13, right? Okay. Well, in that case, if we're just being honest, Dan Campbell should be out of here. Dan Campbell should be gone. Who else? He might be gone, but even though they won 7 games, you have Russell Wilson. Pete Carroll should be gone. Robert Saleh, he went 4-13. He should be gone too, right? Just saying. Oh, he only won 3 more games. Ron Rivera should be gone. What I'm saying is this. This moment right here was the reason why I felt so bad when I heard that David Culley got the job as the head coach for the Houston Texans. Usually, you want to champion and celebrate your African American constituents or your African American brethren or sisterin when they get opportunities like a head coaching position at a professional organization, i.e. NFL, NBA, NHL, stuff like that. You usually want to champion that because you know how rare it is. Like I said, with David Culley now being fired, there's only one African American head coach in the NFL. And it's not a coincidence that was the only African American head coach that was put in a situation that is unlike any other situation that another African American would get. He was put in a stable organization with a franchise quarterback. This is why I said it was messed up, man. Because I knew that we would get to this moment. So now, and I think what they're going to do, because they see the backlash that the Houston Texans see the backlash that they're getting, they're probably going to, you hear Gerard Mayo as a candidate for head coach. You hear Brian Flores, which would be great coaches. Great coaches. You see with Brian Flores, who, by the way, had a winning season. Won 19 games in 2 years. The last time I think the Dolphins did that was 2002. Had 19 wins. And still got fired. I think he'd be a great coach for the Houston Texans. But I wouldn't want them to take that job because, again, I understand it's very rare for African Americans to get the opportunity as a head coach. But what makes them think? What makes any coach think that, especially any coach of color, think that what happened to David Culley won't happen to you? How does an organization put that faith into you? Or how does an organization that gave you all the pieces in the world to fail, so that when you do fail, it's like, what am I supposed to say? You went 4-13. Why would you want to be the head coach of an organization like that? Where give it 2 or 3 years, say Deshaun, which I don't think is going to happen. Deshaun Watson ain't never coming back. As far as to Houston, Deshaun Watson is not coming back. So what do you have? What do you have? And what happens if Tyrod Taylor does play the whole season? And you win 6 games, or you win 5 games? Then what? It's unfortunate, man. I feel bad for David Culley, and I hate starting an episode like this, but it's like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? And I feel bad because David Culley, and what's unfortunate is you start hearing rhetoric like what we heard from Keyshawn Johnson, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, but you start hearing rhetoric like Keyshawn Johnson. We knew this was going to happen. At least he was able to be a head coach in the National Football League, live out his dream. What? Yeah, he was able to be a head coach. He lived out his dream, but why is that what he has to accept? Why does he have to accept the fact that, well, you did a good enough job to stay. In fact, you did better than expected. But hey, you still got fired. But hey, at least you were a head coach in the NFL league. Here, take this. This is a token. That's a token. That is a token of appreciation because you lived out your dream. Why do black people have to? Why is that always has? I didn't like that, bro. I ain't like that. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate because this ain't the first, and this is not the last time that this is gonna happen. Hell, they implemented a Rooney Rule, but you have billionaire owners. You think you're gonna tell a billionaire owner who they're going to spend their money with, and who like that? That's unfortunate, man. But and I hope David Culley gets another opportunity to be a head coach because he didn't deserve to be fired. He did a hell of a job, if you ask me. I mean, I can't name you 4 players on that team, on that Houston Texans team. 4 players. I can't name you 4. I can name you maybe 3. Tyrod Taylor, David Mills, Brandon Cooks. Is David Johnson still on that team? And maybe David Johnson, I think. That's 4. I can't name you. David, I pray he gets another head coaching opportunity because that was some BS, if you ask me, man. That was terrible.